Chapter 7. Stolen Kiss? What? I was dreaming about singing again. Oh no, I just had an awful thought. Stolen kiss. Adrian, if you do anything, I'm gonna kick you where the sun don't shine, Mr. Vampire Boy. At first I thought it was the same dream and I was sleepwalking like all the previous nights, but it felt different somehow. It was dark, but not the same enveloping, suffocating darkness. It was warm, and there were spots of light dancing all around me. Even though I was aware that I was dreaming, I didn't have the same feeling of my body being controlled by an outside force. This felt more like watching someone else's memory on an old television screen. Darkness gave way to light. And I realized I knew this place. The place in my dream. It was in the woods somewhere near our old house. Hyrule. I didn't know why I was there, or rather why the me in my dream was there, because I felt her as a distinctly separate entity from me, but she was so relieved somehow. So glad to be away from something. I wasn't sure what she was glad to be away from, but I was surprised by an intense feeling of... What was it? What was this? Longing? Surrounded by the little lights and the familiar singing, all she wanted in that moment was to go home. There was a panicked yell, and everything screeched to a halt. In the distance was a familiar face, half obscured by trees and foliage. Was she gonna go home right then? And got interrupted because of Spencer, and then we moved, and she never got the chance? I can't remember how long ago that was now. How old they would have been. Spencer's the same, has looked the same since way back then. Spencer! That's cool to see the actual memory. I woke with a start and lay staring up at the ceiling in my bedroom, trying to catch my breath. That had been an odd dream. I struggled to remember the details, but it was already fading, except that feeling of homesickness. And seeing Spencer there at the end. I shivered and groped around in the dark for my comforter, which I'd apparently thrown off at some point. When I couldn't find it, I sat up and squinted blearily around the room. My blankets were strewn on the floor in a conspicuous trail leading toward the door. Okay. I swung my feet over the edge of the bed and stood, wincing the moment I put pressure on my feet. Ugh. What? I sat and pulled one foot onto my lap, inspecting it. Nothing looked amiss, but it felt weirdly tingly and warm to the touch. Probably the St. John's wort. I glanced toward the door and the trail of bedding again. The only thing I could think was that I tried to escape, realized I couldn't, and had returned to bed. Still, my feet really hurt. How hard did I try to get across that barrier if I left my feet in this state? Chewing my lip worriedly, I got up again and went to retrieve my blankets. A glance at my clock told me it was just past 1 in the morning. I was hoping I could get back to sleep so I wouldn't be a zombie when Mom came to wake me up. I gathered my blankets in a ball and muttered to myself about having to make my bed again at 1 in the morning. Maybe I should just start strapping myself down. I paused when I heard something odd. What was that? Still standing in the middle of my room with my arms full of messed up bedding, I listened carefully. There it is again! What even is that? It was a strange sound, sort of squishing and wet. Did someone leave something dripping? I had PTSD to the whole filled bathtub ending. It didn't really sound like a dripping faucet, though. Ugh, please tell me that stupid brownie isn't up to something weird again. No, don't go in the bathroom! I dropped the blankets on my bed and crept to the bathroom. I didn't usually bother using the herbs across the bathroom door, since the only way out through there was through Spencer's room, and if I ever even tried that, he'd freak out and inevitably wake me up. Pushing the door open, I glanced in the bathroom. There didn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary in there. When I stepped inside, the cold tile felt nice against my sore feet. The faucet was dry, but I twisted the knobs anyway, just to be sure. I heard the noise again and jerked my head towards Spencer's side. That came from Spencer's room. If that brownie was in there doing something to his homework again, so help me. I gently pushed the door open and peeked inside. At first, I didn't really notice anything strange. A vague lump was sprawled in his bed. He was still asleep. It was super cold, though. Is his window open again? I was debating sneaking in and closing it when the shadows near his bed just shifted. What the? Suddenly, a thin black shape zipped toward the window and vanished between the curtains. Without thinking, I threw the door wide open and rushed into the room, but it was gone. I stared at the gap between the curtains where it had gone, frowning. What was that? Something's attached itself to Spencer this route. The brownie? It had seemed bigger, but I couldn't say for sure. I'd only ever seen the brownie when it was toddling along, seemingly fine with being seen. I had never caught it in the act of terrorizing my brother. Maybe I startled it. I rubbed my eyes as I looked around. Aside from the window, there was nothing out of place, and Spencer, weirdly enough, was still fast asleep. I tiptoed to his bedside. Yup. Still sleeping like a log. That was weird, though. I quietly looked around the head of his bed where I'd seen that shadow, but of course there was nothing there. Definitely nothing that looked like a prank in progress. I cast another look at Spencer, surprised he hadn't woken up yet. He was usually such a light sleeper. He looked so much younger in his sleep. I suppose that all people looked that way. I reached toward him almost unconsciously, but pulled my hand away when I realized what I was doing. Best to not wake him up. He'd had a lot to deal with the past few days, and I doubt he'd take well to me being in his room. I did shut the window, though, before making my escape. Why do you have the window open all the time? I left his door to the bathroom open a crack and mine open all the way, just in case. Maybe if the brownie was caught in the act, it would give up and leave him alone for one night. Maybe. Morning came way too soon. When the alarm didn't wake me up, my mom's familiar call to wake up cut right through sleep and dragged me relentlessly into the world of waking. I lay in bed bundled into my blankets for a long moment, wishing I could just stay put and sleep in. Mom called again, and I finally dragged myself out of my blankets. I was so looking forward to a time when I could plan my day around me hating mornings. Good luck with that, girl. Still rubbing my eyes, I staggered to the bathroom to wash my face and brush my teeth. I pushed the door open, surprised to come face to face with Spencer. Well, not really face to face. He was in front of the sink, brushing his teeth and looking every bit the zombie that I felt. I eyed him warily from my door. He looked really tired. You okay? Not much of a response, but at least he hadn't bitten my head off. Things were still tense between us, but after he'd come home from the library, he'd seemed somehow more tolerant of my existence. The air hadn't really been cleared, but maybe just acknowledging the dark cloud and why it was there made it easier to tolerate. I decided to leave him there to finish up in the bathroom while I went to pick clothes out and brush my hair. I had managed to mostly wake myself by the time I finally came out of my room. My feet were feeling better than they had been last night, but it was still worrying that I had apparently been that determined to exit my room. I wonder if I should set up some kind of recording device. I didn't want to overreact, but it felt a little like it was getting out of hand. We'd managed to contain me, but that hadn't solved the problem, and every other theory aside, the sleepwalking was still a mystery. I was becoming more convinced it wasn't just a sleep disorder, though. I wasn't sure if that was comforting or not. One thing was certain. I was really glad I'd thought to start sprinkling some of those herbs on the windowsill. Good job, girl. I was just thinking about that. If I wanted to leave that badly at night, I would not be shocked if I tried to use the window at some point. And leaping out a second-story window in the middle of the night just did not seem like it would end well for me. But the real question is where I want to go so badly. Though I didn't know why I defaulted to thinking I wanted to go somewhere. Maybe I was just acting out my dreams. Like that one last night. I didn't remember it all, but I did remember that stark feeling of longing. Almost like homesickness. I stopped short, an unpleasant feeling of realization creeping up on me. Maybe I'm sneaking out at night because I subconsciously want to get home. But that would mean that this wasn't my home. I pushed that thought away and snatched the half-empty glass jar off my bedside table. I'd just go get my coffee and pretend that thought hadn't started to occur to me. I was halfway through dispelling my herb barrier when Spencer stepped into the hallway from his room and paused to watch me. I ignored him. Now that he knew what was going on, there was really no reason to hide it anymore, was there?
What are you doing? I saw you doing that yesterday, too.
I've been doing it every day since last week.
What's in that jar?
In this one? Bluebells and some other stuff. I don't know what all the herbs are. They dispelled the barrier I put up last night, allowing me to safely leave my room.
Barrier? How can that be a barrier?
I don't know the details of how it works, other than that it has something to do with some plants reacting negatively when exposed to fey magic or something. It was Allie's idea. I corked the little jar and set it on the shelf just inside my room. After I told Allie about my sleepwalking, she had someone make something that would help keep me inside. But since I do need to be able to leave my room each morning, I use this one to neutralize the other one.
Does it actually work?
You should already know I haven't left the house recently. Not since I started using this. So I guess it does. I didn't know why, but it irritated me. His questions, his incredulity. It shouldn't. I'd felt the same way about it all at first. He was standing there looking so bewildered and worried. I felt the same way, and yet here I was expected to calmly explain it all to someone who was convinced I didn't belong here.
You really, truly don't know what's going on with you, do you?
I gave him an exasperated look. This is his first time, actually admitting that, oh, maybe I was a real jerk. No, I don't. I've been saying that the whole time. Ugh. I mean, the whole crux of the issue is... I wish you'd just believe me. I know it's hard, but... it's hard for me to believe your story too. But I'm at least trying.
I'm also trying, you know.
Oh? This is what trying looks like?
Given what I saw back then, it's hard to believe you don't know what's going on.
Even if I was some sort of imposter, what reason would I even have to lie to you for such a long time? Even if I am a changeling, why would I keep hanging around here when I know you're suspicious of me?
I don't know. I don't know.
Neither do I. I left him there and started down to the kitchen alone. This could be the start.
Nora!
I looked back at him. Yeah?
I want to believe you. I really do.
Yeah. I settled against the table with a cup of coffee just as Spencer was coming downstairs. Mom was nowhere in sight at the moment.
By the way...
I looked up at him, surprised that, once again, he'd spoken to me first.
keys?
Check the front cabinet. That seems to be the favorite spot. Spencer just sighed.
I don't suppose we can find a way to make it stop doing that.
The one bright spot so far? He'd stopped blaming me for taking his stuff. He still couldn't see the brownie, but he'd accepted that it was there. Over the weekend, I'd been able to somewhat explain what it was, and my theory for why it was angry at him. I wasn't sure, but I thought it might be related to him kicking over the mushrooms on the day we'd moved in. I can try to look into it today. I'm sure it's probably something simple.
I can look into it myself. You don't have to.
I don't mind. Maybe spending some time on something else for a while will help me clear my head. Maybe I just need to give myself a break so I can have a fresh perspective on everything else. Besides, that little cretin needed to be dealt with. Apparently last night it had been up to something in Spencer's room. It wasn't the brownie. Wait. Just had a thought. About... like Brenna. About cat cheese. There was the whole thing about them, like, sucking the life out of children. I wonder if it's something like that? That's visiting Spencer at night? That shadow thing? Even if Spencer wasn't blaming me anymore, its pranks were still an annoyance. It would be better for everyone if we could figure out how to appease it and just move on. One less thing for us to worry about. Boop! And he's gone. Spencer left to go hunt down the keys, and I finished my coffee. I went to rinse the mug just as Spencer returned, with Mom on his heels.
But you look really tired. I hope you aren't having a relapse. I'm fine. I just had weird dreams is all.
Yeah, those dark circles under his eyes were bound to catch her attention. She was a hawk when it came to noticing that kind of thing, but was oddly unobservant when it came to her kids sneaking out at night and apparently having magic abilities. Weird. In any case, Spencer had been sound asleep when I was in his room last night, to the point that he hadn't been aware I was even in there. It was strange he was so tired. Then again, I knew how exhausting weird dreams could be. Of course, mine tended to involve midnight rambles through the woods as well, so whatever. It felt like we both just needed a vacation. I hear that. And that thought just made me feel sort of weirdly old. It doesn't get better.
I'm worried about you driving to school alone. You look like you'd fall asleep at the wheel.
I'm not that tired.
Nora, is Allie driving you this morning, or do you think you can drive Spencer?
Ugh. Allie. Things have been so awkward since that conversation in the library. Hey, if you had like a semi-not-so-awkward conversation with Spencer, I think you could do the same with Allie. I still needed some time to get my thoughts straight after that. The idea she'd even consider that I wasn't, well, me. It felt like a betrayal. That's the word I was trying to find earlier. I've been battling with feeling I might be overreacting, along with feeling like maybe she should stop to consider my position a little more. That is totally valid. Absolutely. She should. Allie was supposed to drive me today, but I can always text her. She hasn't left yet, most likely.
Would you? I don't need Nora to drive me. I don't want her to drive me. Her driving is terrifying.
But at least it would wake you up, right? He gave me a sour look.
For the entire 10 seconds it takes you to drive us off into a ditch.
I've never actually wrecked the car, you know. But it's probably hard to sleep when you're clutching the armrest, yelling.
You are not driving today.
You're no fun. We both stopped and looked at her when she giggled slightly. What?
You too. I haven't seen you tease each other like that in so long. I wasn't teasing. She really is an awful driver.
Hey! Maybe that's because someone doesn't let me practice. Mom just laughed quietly as she went to pour herself a cup of coffee. Teasing, huh? Actually, it had been a while since we'd had an exchange like that. I'll give Allie a call.
You don't have to.
It'll make Mom feel better. And I'll let you drive. I can poke you from the passenger seat if you nod off. It's a good compromise. I grabbed my phone and stepped just outside on the back porch as I dialed Allie's number.
Hey, what's up? It's rare for you to call so early.
I just wanted to let you know I'm riding with Spencer today. Mom's still a little worried about him not being fully recovered or something. She's kind of bugging me to ride with him.
Oh,
I'll ride with you tomorrow, okay?
okay. Hey,
Yeah?
are we okay? I mean, really okay?
It wasn't like I could stay mad at her. I wasn't even mad, really. Just sad, disappointed, frustrated. At her, at Spencer, myself, life in general. I didn't know how to vocalize any of that to her, but in the end it didn't mean we weren't okay. We were, or at least we would be, hopefully. Yes, we are. Of course. I really am doing this to make Mom feel better. She's convinced Spencer's going to fall asleep at the wheel or something. He doesn't want me to drive, so I'm the designated poker. I have to ride with him and jab him awake if he falls asleep.
I bet he loves that idea.
Yeah, no. Not really.
Okay, well, I hope he feels better.
I'm sure he's fine.
Then I'll see you at school.
Okay, see you there. I hung up and rubbed my face. I didn't like things being weird between us. We had to find time and just clear the air. The car ride was strange. Things were tense, but not in an angry way. It felt more like riding with a stranger. I was thinking, about the brownie issue. I think I remember reading something in the past about leaving food out for them or something. Are you going to be okay doing that if we need to do something like that to appease it?
I can't see it anyway, so it doesn't matter much.
Well, they can decide to show themselves to people.
What does it look like anyway?
A weird, creepy little person, I guess.
Seems par for the course for fairies.
There's something I've kind of been wanting to ask you. You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
What is it?
That day in the woods. You said you saw me in a clearing, but I didn't look like me at first. What did I look like?
Even if I tell you, what good is it going to do?
I don't know, it's creepy. Thinking I don't even know what I look like. It just bothers me. I know you don't believe I don't remember and that I don't know what's going...
I don't not believe you. I mean, I just don't know what to think anymore.
We drove in silence for a moment, and I didn't think he was going to answer my previous question.
She was beautiful. The white-haired woman I saw that day. She was beautiful and terrifying, and that first moment she looked at me, I seriously thought I was going to die.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for hurting you. I don't remember it. And I don't know if it was me or if I was in my right mind or what happened. But I'm so sorry.
I know. all this supernatural stuff. This cryptic nonsense and everything. It would just be better for everyone if none of it existed.
In that moment, I couldn't really say I disagreed with him. Spencer and I had agreed that it was better to show up to school early so we could still use the spare time to research up in the club room. He was now in the same position as I had been. He wanted to know more about the paranormal community in general. Even so, it felt awkward with him in the club. It was kind of amazing how quickly one got used to lying. Every time I looked up and saw him sitting a few feet away, I felt a moment of panic. Fortunately, it was actually sort of crowded this morning. Hi, are you Shelley? Or are you... What did William say your name was? Guess? Or something like that? Besides the two of us, William was there, along with a girl I'd seen several times, but didn't really know. Drayson had also wandered in at some point and was sitting on the floor with his back to my chair. 3 of us were buried in books. William and the girl he was with were talking really quietly together. I was sitting in one of the wing-back chairs with my legs folded under me as I tried to focus on the book in my lap. The words were just blurring together as I tapped the end of my pen against the page. Drayson tipped his head back and looked up at me from the floor, expression worried.
Are you okay?
Yeah, just a little tired, as usual.
Still busy with your research?
Yeah, more or less. I tried for a genuine smile. How's the art exhibit planning going? He turned around, resting his arms on the arms of the chair.
It's going okay. I haven't been helping every day, but just when I have time. Are you going to enter something?
Oh, I brought some things to show Raina, but I didn't have a chance. William looks so sad right now.
You should try to enter something if you can.
I'll try. I have a lot on my plate at the moment. Anyway, how are you, William? We don't really get to talk much.
I'm okay.
He looked away awkwardly, then back at me, almost seeming to panic when our eyes met. William, if you know something, speak now.
Have you met Shelley?
Okay, so that is Shelley. I've seen her in the library here and there. We've never really met. Shelley just smiled faintly.
It's nice to meet you. Allie's told me about you.
Oh?
She was really excited when you moved back to town.
So was I. Ew. Now I was just being gross and mopey about the whole thing. How annoying. Feelings. Barf. I kicked my inner self. Stop whining.
By the way, I hope the herb mixtures I made for you are working out.
Oh, are you a witch too? Oh, you made those?
Yes, it was me.
Then I should thank you. They seem to be working fine so far. I haven't been able to escape my room at night since I started using them.
Escape your room?
Yeah, apparently I sleepwalk. We haven't worked out why yet, but the Fey part of my brain appears to enjoy frolicking in the woods at night. Either that, or I have somewhere I need to go.
You leave your house at night, while asleep.
Yeah, it's, been an ongoing thing for a while now, though I just found out about it. Anyway, waking up outside in the middle of the woods in the middle of the night is not something I'd recommend.
That's really dangerous this time of year.
So I've heard. But the herbs are working, at least.
I wasn't entirely sure the St. John's wort would be an effective barrier, but Allie said she needed something quick. I've been thinking that maybe I should try a water infusion instead. It would be easier to put down and wouldn't leave as much of a mess.
The dried herbs are working fine. I'm certain that I've tried to leave at night, but I haven't gotten far. Thanks, though, but you don't have to go to the trouble.
If you're happy with it, then I guess it's okay.
This is ridiculous! I can't get any reading done! Everyone looked at him as Spencer slammed the book shut and set it harshly on the coffee table. At first I thought he was talking about our conversation, but he was glaring down at the book and not even looking our way. What's wrong? None of these creatures make even the slightest sense from a biological or evolutionary perspective. Even if I can accept magic as some sort of unknown energy field that has yet to be detected by modern science, half these fairies make no sense at all. Hollow women? Even if you factor in magic as an energy field, that makes no sense. How can a living creature be hollow at the back? Yeah, welcome to my world.
Well, with most fey creatures, it's really hard to know how much of what you see is real and how much is just glamour. They're masters of disguise.
My eyes met Spencer's and I frowned. To the point we can hide even from ourselves, I guess. There's a lot to learn, I know. Believe me, I know. Anyway, good news is that I think I found a way to appease our brownie.
You have a brownie? In your house? That's so cool!
Hardly. Ignore the grouch over here. He's just not a fan because he made it mad, and it's been pranking him pretty much every day since we moved in. I started putting my things away since the bell was going to ring soon anyway.
Ouch.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we can convince it to stop. I slipped my things into my book bag and stood. I'm going to go ahead and go to class. I'll see you all later. I left them there and started down the hall to the stairs. I was going to have to find a way to test that changeling thing. I had to stop moping about it. Even if it meant having to walk away from everything I knew. But I couldn't keep moping around the school being afraid and anxious. I hated it. I hated that I was going to have to be the one to suck it up and be ready to sacrifice everything. But being stalled in one place while I fretted about everything was just making things worse. I'd had enough time to brood. It was time to move on.